So the primary thing that I want you to be able to walk away from today, how can AI help me become a confident trader with my strategy? I've been using ChatGPT and now Bard as of yesterday that was released to build trading strategies, predominantly building, optimizing, and doing it in a much, much faster fashion than I was able to with my quant team that would take, sometimes weeks and months to kind of get to some of the results that we're looking for. I've been able to do basically on my own without my entire team, walking me through building code in the matter of hours. And what I want to do is I want to show you today how you can do it, and then also show you some of the results of what we have accomplished over the past few weeks of building kind of these profitable strategies. So I'm going to show you a simple strategy we're going to build today. First thing we're going to do is we're going to do some basic trend analysis. We're going to interpret indicators to get an objective trend. It's important when you're trading to know whether something is trending higher or lower. That's the basis of most trend following strategies. So you got to first identify a trend. Second thing we're going to do is generate trading signals. Just because you identify a trend doesn't mean you should enter that trend at any time. What you want to try to do is generate buy and sell signals that provide optimal times to enter within a trend. And the third thing you might want to do is apply some filters. Not every single signal and not every single trend is created equal. What you might want to do is just get a sense for certain criteria that can allow you to filter out less optimal or underperforming signals. That is the basis of building a strategy that has the potential of being profitable. Okay. Now, there is some background stuff that I think everyone should be familiar with before I jump into this. You ever use ChatGPT or Bard? If you have not used it, you can sign up for it for free at chat.openai.com. So you can sign up for one of those two. Today, I'm going to show you ChatGPT. What these tools are going to allow you to do, number one, is allow you to learn more about specific indicators, because you can just talk to these AI tools in natural language. You can just ask it questions and it'll respond to you in natural language. So you can ask the AI tools questions like you would ask me, right? Someone who's an expert in technical analysis. What would you ask them? You can ask these AI tools, and you can have the AI tools provide you with outlines, provide you with guides, provide you with kind of where you should look, because we don't know what we don't know, and it can give you kind of an outline so that you can start learning as to where to start. And the second thing it's able to do is write code so that you can test different ideas and help you optimize using some of the platforms I want to show you here today. And one of the tools that we're going to use is TradingView. And again, for those of you that are not familiar with TradingView, we're going to walk you through that here today. I'm going to post a link into the chat window here as well. It's a web-based charting package and backtesting platform. It uses a proprietary programming language called PineScript, but ChatGPT and Bard are capable of writing code in PineScript, and it offers just about every possible asset class. So whether you trade equities, currencies, futures, Forex, U.S. securities, international securities, TradingView has all of the data that's required for it to one, see the technical indicators on those specific assets that you trade, and allow you to backtest each one of those particular assets. The only limitation that I see with TradingView is the fact that you have very limited screening capabilities. And that's a huge limitation from my perspective, because if you build these indicators, you have to look through each symbol manually, one by one, to see if one's generated a signal. Versus other platforms, and what we do here at OptionsPlay is that when you build a custom indicator, you can actually, what we do is we actually build scans around them, so you can see which stocks generated a buy signal, or which stocks, had a trend change. So that's really one of the things about TradingView that, currently is one of the limitations, but I'll show you kind of what we're doing to try to tackle that. Okay. So those are the prerequisites to being able to do what we're doing today. So what I'm going to show you is ChatGPT and TradingView. Next week, hopefully I'll be able to show you Bard and TradingView, or Bard and ThinkOrSwim. A lot of people use ThinkOrSwim, so I'll be able to do one on ThinkOrSwim next week. But you're going to need both tools in order to do what we show you here today. They're free accounts for anyone to sign up. I shared the link into the chat window, tradingview.com for TradingView and chat.openai for ChatGPT. We're going to build some trend analysis, some trading signals, and we're going to build some filters. And I'm going to do a very basic one just so that anyone here can follow along. Okay. So The first one I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to put in the prompts and the code that ChatGPT spits out, okay? So as you can see, what you do is you prompt these AI tools in plain English. You basically write out in plain English what you needed to do. So I have a few things to show you, but basically the first prompt I'm going to show you is that I told ChatGPT, create me a Pine script indicator. And Pine script indicator is important because that's the programming language of TradingView. So I said, create a Pine script indicator to help me determine the trend of a stock using a simple moving average where it draws a histogram below the chart. So I want a histogram below the chart that tells me the trend. And I'm telling it when the close of the stock is above its 30-period simple moving average, assign the histogram a value of 1 and the color green. And if the close is below its 30-period moving average, it gives me a histogram of -1 and the color red. And I specifically tell it not to plot this simple moving average. And this is something that you might want to do because these AI tools always plot the indicator for you itself. I tend to find that I want to remove the indicator. The whole point of me doing this is so that I just get the output. So I'll show you this, what it looks like in ChatGPT. So in ChatGPT, I wrote exactly this, right? I copied and pasted from ChatGPT. This was the prompt that I gave it. I basically said, I want an indicator that tells me whether a stock is above or below its 30-period moving average, and just color-coded green and red for me so I can easily visually see whether the stock is above or below the 30-day moving average. I don't want to have to draw the moving average. I don't want to have to interpret the moving average. I just want to know red, green, whether it's above or below. This is part of what's providing the objectivity to me. And what you can do is you can take the code that ChatGPT spits out, which is this here, right here. You can copy the code. And when you go into TradingView, there's a button here at the very bottom called Pine Editor. And what that allows you to do is enter the code that ChatGPT gave you in this particular case, and you can enter it here into Pine Editor. And what you do is you save it and you add it to chart once you've added it. Now, I've already preloaded this. I wanted to show you the output of everything. So if you look at the SMA trend, what I get at the bottom of my chart is just this red-green bar. So I don't have to draw an indicator. I don't have to interpret the indicator. I just get this red-green bar. And that tells me whether something is above its moving average or below its moving average. And this is the objective part of what I'm trying to achieve from technical analysis. Because if I have to draw my own lines, there's always room for interpretation. There's always room for me to insert my bias into this. But when I have a red and green bar that I can't really insert my bias into, I know this stock, in this particular case, SPY, is trending higher. It's trading above its 30-day moving average. And I'll just show this to you real quick to do this one time, right? I'll show you the first one. I copy and paste this code. I go into TradingView. I bring up Pine Editor. What you can do is you can go to Open Indicator. And what that allows you to do is basically paste your code into this, and you can name it whatever you'd like. I named it SMA trend histogram, but you can name it whatever you'd like. Click on Save, and then Add to Chart. And what it does is it adds the indicator to your chart. And this is a fully customized indicator that you have just built on your own by simply writing in natural language in ChatGPT, and it spits out the code for you. For those of you that have some coding experience, it's not that difficult to look through these few lines of code and try to figure out what it's doing. But if you want to change it, you can say, okay, I want to use the 40-period moving average. I can quickly save that, and now my trend indicators are now based on the 40-day moving average. Or I can, say, okay, I'm going to do a 200-day moving average. And you can kind of make these changes pretty easily, and you'll be able to see, whoops, you know what, let me go back. I'm going to go back to my trend indicator. And as you can see, my indicator itself already has an input period. So I don't even have to go into the code. I can just modify the indicator as if TradingView built this indicator for me. And now I have the trend indicator based on the 200-day moving average. So it's really incredible what you can do here in terms of building a trading strategy based on, or rather, building an indicator that does exactly what you want it to do. Not what someone else wanted to do, what someone else built for them, but what built specifically for you. Does that, and I'm just giving you a really, really simple example of above or below the moving average. I'll give you another one that I think was perhaps a little bit more innovative. Here's you looking at MACD. right? For those of you that are familiar with MACD, it's the convergence divergence of two moving averages of the 12 and 26 moving average. And what I wanted to do is, instead of looking at MACD, I wanted something to interpret MACD for me. Instead of me having to draw a line, insert MACD, which has two lines and a histogram, I wanted to just get a sense for what the MACD was telling me. So I wrote as a prompt, create a pine script indicator to help me determine the trend of a stock using MACD, where same thing, draws a histogram below the chart. Because I think the histogram, red, green bars, easy to visualize and see. When the MACD histogram is increasing in value, assign a histogram of 1 and code it green. And when the MACD histogram is decreasing in value, assign the histogram of value of -1 and code it red. And I also said, don't plot the MACD with this indicator. I find that whenever I have the indicator, I always look at the indicator. I don't want that indicator. I just want to see the output of it. That's how I remain objective, right? And it spits out this piece of code here on the left. And what I'll show you here, what it gave me is this one at the bottom. So I'm going to go back and change it back to the 30 from before, because I was using the 30-day moving average. And what you can see here is I have two green-red histograms, one based on the moving average, one based on the MACD. So as you can see, the MACD one is far more volatile. It moves up and down much, much quicker versus the standard versus the moving average one kind of stays red for quite some time, green for quite some time, red for quite some time, green for quite some time. So what you can see is kind of the difference between the different histograms, right? And if you look at a weekly chart, even more so, right? And notice how during the 2020, 2022 mark, right? But basically almost 2 years of history, look at how the moving average histogram remained green this entire trend, right? Meaning it kept me in that bullish trend this entire time, versus MACD kind of whipped me back and forth between green, red, green, red, green, red, green, red. Far less effective during that, right? So this allows me to quickly say, okay, in a trend, it's far better to stick to something like a moving average type strategy than MACD, right? Visually, once I see the signals, it becomes a lot clearer. If I just look at the MACD histogram, if I just look at MACD, I don't really get this type of information. And this is how you start fundamentally understanding your strategy and start knowing and having confidence in your strategy, because you've seen it visually, you've seen how it performs, and you know, okay, this doesn't work in this type of market. And then you look at the more recent price action when things are more choppy, when things are more sideways. Like, notice how right here on June 21st, MACD turned green. Well, as basically when the market bottomed and basically was able to catch this entire move up. MACD was able to catch it and turn green, versus moving average, you didn't catch it until the very, very end, and you actually would have gotten in way too late. You would have gotten in right here, and then the market would have immediately reversed on you and started trending back lower. And same thing here again. After the market bottomed here, MACD started turning green right here, and you would have been able to catch this small trend, right? So MACD was much faster at adapting to kind of recent moves. And as you can see, 2 weeks ago, MACD started turning green, but the simple moving average still stayed green. And what this shows you is that in certain market conditions, trending indicators like simple moving averages will work a lot better. And then there are other markets where something like MACD will perform a lot better. And when you realize this, this is really when you start, the wheels in your brain should start thinking about, okay, how do I think about knowing when to use a trending indicator like moving average? When do I look at MACD as a better trading signal? And I'm not going to try to get into all of that here today, but I want to show you the basis of different types of trend indicators that you can build, and know that there's no holy grail. You kind of have to think about what the benefits of each one are, because no strategy works all the time. And it's important to know when your strategy works, when it doesn't, because when you go through that string of losers, you're going to need to know whether this is something I need to continue pushing through or not, or this is something that I need to start making adjustments on. Okay. And I have some thoughts as far as that, but this is really where you can ask ChatGPT. You can ask ChatGPT, when should I use MACD? When should I use moving averages? And see what the research out there provides. That's really the incredible power of these AI tools. Okay. So let's talk about trading signals. We talked about trend. Let's talk about trading signals. I wanted to now look at trading signals. Create me a pine script indicator that draws a green buy signal when the 14-period commodity channel index crosses above negative 100. That's the buy threshold for the commodity channel index. You can replace this with any other technical indicator. Many of you like RSI or stochastics or whatever it is. Put in your own indicator. This is the great part about ChatGPT. You don't have to follow me. You build your own indicators. Tell them exactly what period of indicator you need, what the thresholds as to when to buy, when to sell, and don't plot the indicator for me. Just plot the green and red sell signals. So here's CCI on that chart. Here is CCI on that chart. So as you can see, let me just hide the other stuff real quick, because I think sometimes when you have too many things on your chart, things get a little fuzzy. So here is the chart. Instead of me plotting the indicator, I just want to know when it generates a buy or sell signal. So you have a bunch of red signals, a bunch of green signals all over the place. Some seem like really good signals, like these right here, right? These seem like pretty good signals. And some seem like really bad signals, like this one, 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 this one. There's so many bad signals here, right? So some good, some bad. And what you really notice is that there's a pretty high correlation between, when this trends in one direction and these are bad signals, and when these are bad signals, these become good signals. And this is something you'll learn very quickly. And one of the things that you kind of have to figure out is how do you switch between a trending market and a non-trending market? Because trending markets, one set of indicators will perform well. Non-trending markets, another set of signals will perform well. So this is really where, like I said, you don't want to just take all signals blindly. You want to have some filtering mechanism. So what I did is I basically said, let's combine some of the things that I did. I said, let's combine the simple moving average histogram that I created with the CCI signal indicator that I created, and only generate a buy signal when the histogram is positive, and only generate a sell signal when the histogram is negative. And again, don't plot any of the indicators for me, just show me the signals. And what I got out of ChatGPT is I went from, what looked like dozens of signals over the past couple of years on my weekly chart to, as you can see, just a few. I have one here, and one here. There are far fewer signals, but they're far better signals. And this is the filtering mechanism that's important for trading. And you can use trend to filter against it. You can use other indicators to filter against it. I'm just trying to show you a very, very simple method of how do you go about doing this. And the thing about TradingView is that you can easily switch symbols and easily see when historically something has generated. So here's SPY, hasn't on the daily chart, it hasn't generated many signals. But a lot of times you might say to yourself, okay, I kind of feel like I'm onto something. How do I really know how well this does? And that's really, again, the power of TradingView, because what I can do is I can take everything that I just built here today, a simple moving average histogram, my signals that have now been filtered out by my moving average histogram, and I can tell trading or ChatGPT to build me a strategy in TradingView. So turn the filtered buy and sell signals into a Pine script strategy. That's an important part. You have to tell it to because before, if you notice, I said Pine script indicator. Now I'm asking it to build me a Pine script strategy so that I can backtest it in TradingView. And what it does is it spits out this piece of code for me. And what I do is I take this piece of code, I copy it into Pine script again, but instead of opening an indicator, I open a strategy. Those are the two differences, right? Indicators are basically things on your chart. A strategy is something that can be back tested. So when I click on open strategy, nope, I don't want to save that. I basically paste what I just have from the previous thing into a strategy, add this as chart, and what I'm going to get is I'm going to get the buy and sell signals that I just created, and TradingView will actually back test the signals instantly based on what I built. So as you can see, I have 43% of the trades were profitable. I did get a net profit on that particular trade, and I can really dive into this and see, what is my average winning trade, which is $20, my average losing trade, which was $9. So it's a risk to reward ratio of almost 2-to-1. That's quite strong. And you can dive into a lot of the different types of metrics that are important to help you better understand your strategy. So this is based on a really, really simple strategy. Like I said, not a lot of thought went into the strategy itself. But again, the point of this was not to show you a strategy, but to show you how to build a strategy and the kind of the building blocks so that you can replicate it. And what TradingView allows you to do is you can type in any symbol and see how that performed on that particular symbol. So as you can see on Qs, 45% of them were profitable. It ended up being profitable as well. It had a profit factor of 1.599. I will say, considering no thought went into this indicator, that's not a bad result. You can use it on Bitcoin. You can use it on whatever you could possibly think of in TradingView and be able to have it back test the specific strategy on a specific indicator, on a specific, a specific symbol, and on any specific time frame. So you can say, well, try it on the weekly chart, right? Trade every single signal on the weekly chart. Now, notice how on the weekly chart, you got a nice jump here in SPY, 58% profitable. Let's look at the Qs, 25% profitable. IWM 50% profitable. This actually isn't bad, to be perfectly honest, considering that, like I said, no thought went into this. RSP 60% profitable. So it looks like it seems to work okay on some of the indices. Apple 45% profitable. And this allows you to quickly get a sense for if what you're building is working, right? And you can always make tweaks, right? You go back to your indicator and you say, okay, I'm looking at the strategy and I was using these levels to enter my buy and sell signals. Maybe I want to change the EMA to a longer EMA, or you want to use a different period CCI. Regardless of what it is, you can then go back and test it and see, okay, did that improve the results or did that make that worse? So look at SPY. Percentage profitable jumped up to 70%. So that change that I made it better. And this allowed me to do this in the span of an hour, no more than an hour, to what used to take me days to, basically come up with an idea, write down the idea, email it to my quant. My quant has to understand it, build it, send it back to me. And if there's any feedback, I have to give it to them, answer his questions before I got a piece of code that I can test easily and see. And the testing part, I had to constantly go through a quant to say, okay, what if you changed it from a 25 to 50? He would make the changes, run the code again, and get me the results. Now I've been doing this completely on my own without the need of a programmer. And I've been able to do it in the matter of minutes rather than days. And this is what hugely has changed, anyone's ability to potentially build a profitable trading strategy. So that is the bulk of what I wanted to show you. And I will share with you the prompts. I will share with you the output of those prompts so that you can see them. You can see these outputs when you get it, if you want to try it out for yourself. But what I did also want to show you is that I've been using this to build some really cool stuff for ourselves. And this is something that I built. It's a really combination of what I said, a trend indicator. And what I had is, instead of a histogram, I had to color code the bars for me. So when something was in a bullish trend, it'd have a green bars. If it was in a bearish trend, it'd have red bars. If it was kind of transitioning, it'd give me yellow bars. And then it would generate buy signals, specific buy signals as to when I'm trend following, and then specific sell signals for when I'm trend following, and then also counter trend. So notice how some of the bars were purple. Purple tells me that even though we're in a bearish trend, not a good time to enter a new bearish trade. And notice how when things turn purple, there tends to be a high tendency that the market starts to rally off the back of that. And this really allowed me to notice how when things turn purple, things started to turn back around. So what I wanted to know is, when were the trends so bearish that it made sense to potentially start buying? When did the trends warrant continuing to buy and kind of continuation of a trend? And when the trends were about to change? And what I can do is I can show you some of the performance metrics of what we've been working on. So as you can see here is SPY. 81% trades were profitable on the daily chart. And I'll show you just kind of a list of stocks. Q's 78%. Now, this obviously took a lot of work to get to this point, but I just wanted to show it to you. Dow Jones, 72% profitable. GLD, 70% profitable. IWD, 75%. 80% IWF. IWM, 70%. So, this took a ton of work, but this was all done in ChatGPT. I didn't have my quant get involved. I just took some of the ideas that I had and just started coding in ChatGPT and taken what I've learned, and just pasting it into TradingView. And I was quickly able to see, okay, that worked, that didn't work. Type in, okay, what changes that I wanted to ChatGPT. It spit out a new line of code, copy and paste, and now, boom, this is what I ended up with. So for those of you that are members for OptionsPlay, you are automatically on the wait list for this indicator that we built, because we are going to incorporate it directly into the OptionsPlay platform. Not only are you going to see the indicator, but you're going to be able to create scans off the indicator. So notice how when this generated a trend following sell, you'll be able to see all the stocks that have generated a trend following sell. Or if something had a counter trend buy like this, all the stocks that have generated a trend buy for today, both on daily and weekly timeframes. And when something changes from green to red or red to green, you'll be able to see that. So if you are a member here of OptionsPlay today, you are already on the wait list because we are in the process of building this indicator that I spent quite a few weeks testing, building, and kind of creating one indicator that gives me all of the objective things that I need without having to pull up the moving averages, pull up the indicators, do the interpretation myself. All of that is done for me by the indicator. And I can scan the entire market for when the buy and sell signals are actually generated. Now, if you don't have an OptionsPlay account, you can get yourself onto the waitlist by simply going to optionsplay.com and signing for a free 30-day trial. And we will let you know as soon as we finish building this indicator so that you can get access to it as well. You can get access to the indicator as well as the scans off of the indicator. So a lot of work went into what I have been using ChatGPT for. Like I said, I just started playing with Bard, and Bard is capable of doing the same thing. There was some, small bits of programming that I had to do in order to get fully complete of what I showed you. But almost, I would say 99% of it was done automatically by ChatGPT. I've also started playing with Bard. I haven't seen the quality of the work from Bard yet, so hopefully I'll be able to report to you next week as to how Bard is able to do the same thing. Is the code that it writes as good as ChatGPT? If it's better or worse, I'll hopefully be able to provide that to you here next week. But like I said, by building this indicator myself, I learned a lot about kind of the value of interpreting a technical indicator versus drawing the indicator and doing the interpretation yourself, and removing that subjectivity out of the decision-making process, removing your bias out of the decision-making process, and just seeing a chart and knowing it's trending lower. It recently, turned bearish. Maybe now it's time to take a look at a bearish trade, or rather, if I think I'm bullish, this might probably, sway me the other way around because I'm trying to be as objective as possible. The more objective you are with your trading, the more likely you will be able to stick to your trading plan. The more emotional you are, the less likely you're going to stick to that trading plan. So hopefully this is one enlightening in terms of how you can use AI to help you do something similar. Like I said, the world is your oyster. If you can type it into English language, ChatGPT can potentially build you an indicator on the back of it. You can test it out, and you can instantly use TradingView to back test the strategy and see how well it performs, and see whether it performs well in certain markets. As you can see, this one indicator we created works really well across almost all equities that I've tested. The only thing that didn't really work out on is TLT. That was the only one that had under 50%. Most of them were in the 70s and 80% profitable trades. I'm glad that I went through this process myself because I learned a lot. And by learning a lot, I'm able to teach it to you guys. And hopefully this is really helpful. And hopefully you'll be able to share in some of the work that I've been able to do by supporting us and being a member here at OptionsPlay. So I want to thank members here at OptionsPlay for supporting us and allowing me to do this. I wouldn't be able to do this if it wasn't for the support of our members. And I hope that for those of you that don't currently have an OptionsPlay account, consider at least signing up for a free 30-day trial so that you can see what we do. And maybe you might consider supporting us to allow us to continue doing this because, you know, this AI revolution it's on its way, right? And you can either be a part of it and learn how to utilize it and see it, or you can get left behind. Unfortunately, I hate to say that, but it really is true. You know, and this kind of, even though I wasn't quite old enough to remember what it was like when the early days of the internet came out, you know, it really feels that way because most of us don't really know how to use AI. We're all kind of figuring it out together. You know, I learned a lot in the past few weeks building this. I learned a lot about how you harness AI, what it can do, what it can't do, because I'll be frank with you, there are quite a few YouTube videos out there that say, you know, ChatGPT built me an indicator that made me 10,000% return, right? And you can't do that. You can't just say, build me a profitable trading strategy and it spits out code. It doesn't work that way. You still have to know the underlying process, know the underlying strategy, and tell it to build it for you. But it's able to build it. You just have to guide it, right? And if you need a guide, ChatGPT can be your guide as well. You can ask ChatGPT, you know, what type of indicators should I use? You know, how many indicators should I use? How should I use each specific indicator? What are buy and sell levels? You know, ChatGPT can give you that information, and then you can feed that information back to ChatGPT to build you the code for it. You know, it really is incredibly, incredibly powerful.